Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. So now moving on to our next session, which will be given by Cooperation Special Interest Group. And they will be discussing about technical capacity building for internet development. And for this session will be moderated by Ms. Joy Chan, our Deputy CEO at APAC-TWNIC. Ms. Joy Chan has very rich expertise which lies in both software development and systems operations. So now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome our moderator, Ms. Joy Chan.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for attending our session. This session is named Cooperation Special Interest Group. And as the name says, especially today with the Internet Society, everything is cooperation. It's here we are physically, and we also have participants from online. And I also have a wonderful speaker panelist from Nepal. He's also online here. So I'm very glad to introduce you all and to tell you that how wonderful that this Cooperation Special Interest Groups has been really working throughout the years and working on various themes and topics. So the idea is really that we want to collaborate with each other and for the policy development, for also a lot of the technical emerging technologies and everything else. So let me bring you my wonderful panelists. I do a very quick introduction for them, and I also have them to perhaps introduce them a little bit more so you know that where they're coming from, their background, and their expertise. So this time that we're going to be talking about the capacity building. Capacity building has been long in the internet space, an important topic. I think sometimes here we are in the local country in Taiwan, we talk about capacity in terms of talent building. But I think capacity building is much, much more than just the talents. So today we're going to dive in on this topic, and I will have my Bikram from Nepal. He's the president of Internet Society. He's going to be telling you something about what we've been talking about international-wise on capacity building. So he's going to kind of like set the stage. And then I'm going to be passing the time with Jason Kuo. He's the professor from National Taiwan University. Sunny, my wonderful co-worker, partners for many years, and he is from APAC-TWNIC. So I'll let him tell you more about himself a little bit later. And Crystal is coming from a very, very different aspect to tell you about what capacity building has been in with her area and her point of view. And the last but not least, it's Sophie. Sophie is going to be sharing with us because she hosts so many sessions of School of Internet Governance. She also hosts sessions for the younger generation of Internet governors. So I'm sure that she's going to see things in a very objective way. So without further ado, I want to introduce and also turn our attention to Bikram. Bikram, you are online from Nepal, and I think it's 1 o'clock or 1:13 at your time. Are you ready to share with us? Can you hear us well? Wonderful. Thank you. The time is yours.
Yes.
Thank you, Bikram.
Yes, thank you, Joy. Namaste from Nepal. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the 5th ICANN APAC-TWNIC Engagement Forum in conjunction with the 41 IP Open Policy Forum. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to the host for this kind invitation. It's an honor to be a part of today to discuss a topic that lies at the heart of the internet, continue growing and innovation, technical capacity building for internet development. My name is Bikram Shrestha. I am the president, founder, Nepal Internet Foundation, and co-chair for the Corporation SIG, co-chair of APAC-TWNIC, and I have different hats in Nepal. I have been contributing in Nepal for almost 2 decades, and I am professionally working in digital banking, one of the top 10 commercial bank in Nepal. So from the almost 2 decades, I have been contributing in internet. So the internet, as we know, it is a remarkable fact of human innovation and collaboration. It has transformed the way we communicate, conduct business and access information on a global scale. However, its continued evolution and sustainability depend heavily on our ability to build and maintain the technical capacity necessary to support its growth. As we all know that ITU has published the report. From the ITU report, a digital divide, 2.6 billion people are still unconnected. They are not able to benefit the ICT, information communication technology, the privilege that all of us are enjoying here. And there is a gender divide which actually is leading to skill divide. As of today, we have 33% of the people, world's population, they are still offline. 65% of women use the internet compared to 70% of men, which is leading to a skill divide. So the capacity building, the objective here for us is to achieving digitally competent society and improving livelihood for boosting knowledge and skill on the digital technology. Basically, we all know that the global and local organizations like Internet Society, ICANN, ITU, APNIC, APT, and regional NOGs and civil society, non-governmental organizations and government are developing training courses for highly skilled professionals with focus area to have the models which is online and offline for specialized professionals, for the policymakers, regulators, operators, and general people for digital awareness. Just to share with you, the Nepal Internet Foundation, Internet Society, and APNIC, Airbnb, and NPNOG has been planning to provide multiple training programs in Everest region. It will be the one of the highest altitude we are going to have a training in next week. So technical capacity encompasses a wide range of activities from infrastructure development and network security to digital literacy and skill development. In today's interconnected world, it is imperative that the investment in building the expertise and resources need to address the challenges and opportunity that lies ahead. So another crucial aspect of the capacity building is the cyber security. In the spread of the trade and attack, it is essential that we should equip individual and organize with the knowledge and tool needs to protect themselves against malicious attack and actors. This includes the rising awareness about common cyber threat, providing training on the best practice for the cyber society, and promoting the adaptation of security technology and protocol. In addition to infrastructure development and cyber security, the digital literacy and skill development are a vital component of technical capacity building. As the internet became increasingly integrate into our daily lives, it is essential that individuals have the skill and knowledge needed to navigate the digital landscape safely and effectively. This includes basic literacy skills such as how to use email, how to use social medias, and how to use the daily business activities that are responsible, as well as more advanced skills such as coding and programming. So as we look to the future, it is clear that technical capacity will play a central role in shaping the internet evolution and ensuring its continuous success as a driver of innovation and economic growth. By working together to invest in infrastructure, strengthening cybersecurity, and promoting digital literacy, we can create a more inclusive and resilient internet that benefit everyone. In closing, I would like to thank ICANN, APAC-TWNIC, TWNIC, and APAC team for organizing this important forum and for this ongoing commitment to promoting technical capacity in Asia-Pacific region. Together, I am confident that we can build a better future for the internet with 4 C's: collaboration, cooperation, coordination, and connection, on that it is secure, accessible, and equitable for all. Over to Joy.
Thank you, Bikram. Very well said. Everything today, our lives are involved with internet for different degrees. And for the better future, for a brighter future, this is what we needed to devote it as much as possible, that we needed to work together. So thank you for taking us on this level to talking about the capacity building. I'm going to turn my attention to Jason. Jason is a professor from National Taiwan University, and I'll let him tell you more about it, and he's going to have a very different view to share with us from his, he's very professional in the political science. Thank you very much, Jason. It's yours.
Thank you, Joy, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jason Guo from National Taiwan University. I'm trained as a political scientist, and then so you may wonder why in a technical capacity building session, and I'm here, right? And then so I think today I'm going to talk a little bit about the politics of internet governance for capacity building purpose. And first, I think we will look at what we mean by internet governance. And I think the most famous definition comes from Milton Muller, right? I think last year, he actually visited Taiwan here. And then the definition he gave us in his 2010 book, on page 9, he defined internet governance as the ongoing set of disputes and deliberations about how the internet is coordinated, managed, and shaped to reflect policies, right? And this sort of like reflect this morning's keynote speeches. I think Cara mentioned about a lot of discussions through this process, right? And then and for me, as a political scientist, that what I'm really interested in is where is politics, right? And if we think deeper about the whole process, the governance need politics, and politics will shape disputes, deliberations among relevant stakeholders in the process of making and implementing policies with regard to the internet, right? And law follows the political process to produce policies, right? But policies vary across countries over time, right? And then so for us, most of us, we all know that the internet, the birthplace of internet actually is the United States, right? And then so the United States has its own policy and actually set up the framework for today's stage of the internet, right? And then the key document, I think, is the 1997, right? As you can see from my slides, that's the Clinton administration. They set up the report on global e-commerce. So it's called a framework for global electronic commerce, and basically they set up the governance of internet for the following decades, right? And the biggest motivation and political will behind this report actually is the internet for globalization, right? And that's why I began to interested in internet, because as a political economist, I used to study globalization as free exchange of people, goods, services, and money across national borders. But gradually, I found that the traditional way to define economic globalization can no longer sustain, because this kind of cross-border flow of people, goods, services, and money cannot be done without simultaneous exchange of their information on the internet, right? Imagine about we make a wire transfer of money, from a bank within Taiwan, right, and then to the U.S., right? You may send your money through the SWIFT, right, and then they actually require the sending the money through on the internet, right, and then that makes the internet really getting more important and affect our life, and all aspects of globalization will be affected by the internet as well. And then so that is why that report requires sort of like the free and open internet that is indispensable for the promotion of economic globalization. I think that's not only for the the 90s, but now I think it's the whole 21st century. Even today, I think that's why this morning, I think Rofan's keynote actually mentioned a lot of development internet governance forum. You have all this, actually the driving motivation behind it is the internet for globalization, right? And then so we need to look at a variety of things to make the internet free and open. And then we have a lot of sort of like that technical coordination, right? Imagine why we need ICANN, we need the TWNIC, we need the APAC-TWNIC. Actually, these are policy network to coordinate policies to make the internet more free and open. And by with regard to technical standards and all those policies related to that. So for me, I think as a social scientist, I imagine that as a coordination game, right? You imagine you have a different, if each country has its own standards, right? And the standard would not coordinate, and you might not be end up with an optimal policy solution. So that's why we today, I think, including today's event, is all about the coordination for this. But I think the biggest change, I think, is around in 2016. And then so today, I think the internet governance is all about the security. So I call it the securitization of internet governance, right? And the term by the securitization, I think, defines as a process through which the governance of internet becomes a collective security concern of its relevant stakeholders through discourses. So we heard a lot about the security issues, right? We need to handle these security issues there. And there will be the securitizing stakeholders. Imagine discussion if you hear someone who mentioned about, and sort of there's something on the internet, as an existential threat to sovereignty, and that need to be dealt with and contained by extraordinary measures like that. And then there actually is a discourses to securitize the internet, right? This kind of securitization discourses is not very familiar for those who really embrace the economic globalization, but for those who are familiar with the discourses produced by Russia, by China and by Brazil, all these kind of like the wishes, they have the forces to really need to assert the digital sovereignties, right? And actually there's a sort of securitization of the internet governance. And then so for them, the internet needs updated governance that ensures security. So it's all kinds of security discourses. It's all centered on the preservation of the sovereignty, and then require a bigger role of states in the multi-stakeholder governance model, right? And that's I think the current movements that we have observing on the Internet Governance Forum in a lot of places. And why we see this kind of like movements, I think there are sort of some drivers there. And I think 3 lines of arguments that I can find from the academic literature. I think the first is about the security externalities of commerce, right? Imagine internet is for the growth of the e-commerce, but imagine that when commerce as a driving engine of economic growth actually would make the countries, your trading partners, become stronger, right? And that the overall, the state capacity will grow over time, right? Then for countries with the security concerns, they really want to trade with their allies rather than enemies, right? And then so this kind of national security issues comes in the internet governance, right? And then so the first is about the security externalities arguments over there, and then that probably is not very is very familiar for all of you. And the second, I think, I call is the weaponized interdependence. That's sort of about the sort of powerful states actually can use his central position within the network, and then can exploit that kind of power. For example, you can imagine that when powerful state actually require this I think it's this morning's news, right? Like the China required the Apple to take off some apps from the app stores in the Chinese market. That is the way, because the Apple was lucky in the Chinese market, and then so then if you want to continue the market access, you need to make compromise to adopt some policies that my host governments would prefer you to adopt. Then that's a way to weaponize interdependence that actually will trigger new costs on firms and actually trigger a lot of discussions. And I think the third part is really about the competing for innovations in dual-use emerging technologies. I think this morning, I think a lot of discussion about AIs, right? And these things, I think, is really has something to do with the dual-use nature, right? When imagine you have drones that used in the Ukraine-Russia war, right? And then that actually require technology, emerging technology that would be to have sensor can detect that is the humans, right? And then to launch attacks on that subjects. And then so that's why it's getting more sensitive. And when it relate to internet, and then you need some policies to prevent that kind of situation will occur. So all this, I think we see the policy adjustment actually is the movements over there is the relocating sites of production and rearranging critical internet for infrastructure for friendshoring rather than just offshoring. Offshoring is the decades about the globalization, but for today, it's more about the friendshoring. All these kind of policies discussed center on the friendshoring for the internet. And so I think there are a lot of cases. I will just really quick. For example, you imagine the trade negotiations. Currently, the U.S. is leading the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for prosperity. And for that framework, I think it's mentioned the digitalization of trade facilitation measures. That's one chapter explicitly cover on that. It's all about the digital nature of that. But that's only occur within a small club of countries, right? And then for those countries really deemed as a security threat to the U.S. or maybe for those securitization issues, then probably will not be included in that trade negotiations, right? And sort of like a mini framework is for the U.S.-Taiwan initiative on the 21st century trade. That is very similar to the IPEF. It's a parallel to that. And then for a more specific one, I think is that everyone is very familiar with is the TikTok ban bill, right? That actually is all about the U.S. domestic policy as the bipartisan fear of the app as a risk to national security. And that is the kind of practices of the securitization of the internet for governance. And many cases you might be able to draw upon from your daily life. So to quickly conclude, I think the future of the internet, I think that's just a quick overview. And I think the future of the internet will continue to facilitate economic globalization and ensure its security. So like a lot of firms or people represented from the industries, they really want the e-commerce continue to grow, right? But meanwhile, there has been more and more pressures from the securitizing multi-stakeholders that actually they will make arguments that you need to more extraordinary security measures, right? And that will trigger a lot of disputes and deliberations. And this, I think, that's the current internet governance we are facing now. And that also suggests that there will be more political controversies about potential trade-offs between globalization and securitization will come. Okay, I will just stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. You know, when I first met Jason, I said, oh, Professor Cole. And myself is coming from the technical background. And in our technical world, we think we can change everything. But more and more, I realize, talking with somebody coming from more of a policy, what he says changes my world much, much more and much, much faster. So I gave him a lot of respect. And I like so much about his, the future of internet. He comments, the future for internet will continue to facilitate economic globalization and ensure its security. Because more and more internet conferences that we are going to, we put so much emphasis on security. If it's not because of the internet, if it's not because of the internet security, I don't know where we are. I think the more utilization we put on internet, the more secure that we want our internet to be happening, and we want to put more forces on that. At the same time, we want to retain that flexibility and we want that resilience. So this is a very complicated problem. But I'm so glad that we are here. We can hear more about it from Jason. And also one hat that I forgot to mention is that he's actually the chair for the TWIGF for the MSG. So he's collecting all the proposals that we want to talk about. And we have this, of course, multi-stakeholders to decide what gets onto the TWIGF, which is going to be happening in August this year. And I think we're going to have a wonderful time and more deep dive to really link everything that we have been talked about today and looking for a better future tomorrow. So the next speaker, my panelist, is Sunny. As I said, Sunny has been so wonderful. He's been seeing so much the changes, the evolvement from internet. And he is from APAC-TWNIC, and I asked him to speak from the APAC-TWNIC position as well as for the APAC-TWNIC Foundation. He thinks a lot, he's very objective, and he knows what all the major issues, and he's probably gone through a lot of them. So I want to give you attention, put your attention together, and give Sunny and the microphone. The floor is yours. Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you, Joy. And first of all, it's my pleasure to be here, and I thank you, TWNIC, for inviting me. It's my first in-person TWNIC forum, ICANN Engagement Forum and TWNIC Forum, and it's my first time to experience and feel the earthquake here. I didn't have much sleep last night because we had few going on, all through the night, and I was thinking, what should I do? Because coming from an Australian, we are not trained what to do, if earthquake happens, So I was ready up in my shoes to dash out the door, to go downstairs or where, Anyway, that's not why I'm here to talk about, but it's a great experience that I'm actually enjoying it here, being in Taiwan this year. I'm actually a supporting person more than actually sitting on the stage and speaking kind of a person, I like to be on the floor and support, everyone who does great things. But it's a great pleasure to be here with on the same panel as our APAC-TWNIC Cooperation SIG chair and co-chair Bikram, who joined remotely. I don't think I ever was with them on the same panel talking about things that we do. I was given the topic of to talk about APAC-TWNIC and APAC-TWNIC Foundation, but I'll start with APAC-TWNIC first. Capacity building is a big thing at APAC-TWNIC. We have a number of initiatives that we do every year, and these initiatives are actually measured and proven. Feedback comes from the members, the membership that we do a survey every 2 years that we receive feedback from members and the community on what we should be focusing on and what we should be driving in the next 2 years. So there's a lot of thinking process goes in these initiatives, and it's all towards the APAC-TWNIC vision of global, open, stable, and secure internet. And Jason was talking about the internet security and governance. And Bikram mentioned about the digital divide and closing the gap of gender division as well there. So we do a lot of capacity building programs throughout the year. And our capacity building programs actually is two-faceted. We actually do human capacity building, training people, but also we do a lot of capacity building in infrastructure. I think that is also very important, especially this region, that having infrastructure in place for the organizations to then drive on those infrastructure to provide services to their customers. In coordination with the best current practices of the world that used elsewhere and tested and proven that to be the best practice to run the internet over this infrastructure. So we provide quite a lot of support to develop, to establish internet exchange points. That's where it actually helps the communities to save cost on bandwidths. And also to collaborate and cooperate traffic flows within the economies as well, which ultimately benefits the users of the internet in that economy. So that's first thing we do. And the other thing we do is deployment of root servers. I'm sure a number of you here understand the importance of DNS and the root server system in the internet. We actually collaborate with partners from the root operators like FRoot, ICANN for the LRoot, and we actually help deploy those instances in the region so they stay very close to where the users are. And also, again, it helps the users to query the root server system quite easily and efficiently and securely as well. And I'm just giving those two examples on the infrastructure, but let's me move on to the actual human resource development, which is again, it's growing. With the growing of the new technologies, there's a consistent demand for the skills, upskilling and skill development in the region, especially in the Asia-Pacific region, where the internet is growing and where we have 2 billion plus population, the largest region in the world, with India and China being most populous countries, two countries, economies in this region. So the demand that we receive at APAC-TWNIC is constantly growing, and we do our best. We do partner up with others as well, and we have started recruiting experts in the industry to actually meet the demand in a way of community trainers. We have a number of community trainers who've been through this program of the APAC-TWNIC's training program, and who are now helping us take part in the capacity building across the region as well. I think there's one element that very most important is not just the skills development, but actually connecting people, connecting people with one and each other, connecting people with the industry experts. That's also that actually my job, on the ground, to connect people, so if anyone having any difficulty, I may not be an expert in that field, but I know who are the experts, and I connect them with those experts, so that's where they can actually collaborate and resolve their issues. So that's very important. I believe that is very important, that the human interactions between themselves, then learning from each other, and coming to a place to engage, and events like this actually helps bringing people together and creating that relationship between them. Then they go on and move forward with capacity building programs, helping each other. So we have a number of training sessions which happens online. We have an academy platform that in about 10 languages that those who are interested can jump online and self-paced, take on their own. We also have face-to-face workshops where we do 4 to 5 days of intensive workshops with technical people, to manage their internet services. And also we actually started providing and engaging with internet governance, schools of internet governance. I was here in the last 2 days helping the first ever local APIGA, the School of Internet Governance Academy, where we actually take part with organizers to actually engage with the next generation of internet leaders, in sharing our knowledge and making them understand, how the internet actually works, and we do a role play, to make them understand that. We created this game called IPGO game, and which actually helps these next generation leaders to actually understand the nitty-gritties of internet, how actually it works, how when they send a message, what happens, where it goes, who does what, because there's a lot of players in this internet ecosystem that that collaborates and cooperates with each other, and it's important for them to understand, rather than jumping straight onto AI or any other new technology that comes, but understand the basic principles of internet, where it started, how it started, what happens on the internet, how the packets move, across the world, I think that knowledge is very critical for them to understand, and then that will help them to go further into discussions with the latest technologies, etc. Now I just quickly touch base on Foundation. Foundation does amazing things. I fell in love with the APAC-TWNIC Foundation's Switch C project, especially personally, because it actually changed the lives of those people who involved in that Switch C project. It actually bridged the gap between the gender balance in our region, the digital divide in our region, and it actually helped those marginalized communities and people from those marginalized communities to actually get on this Switch C project, which is a very intensive couple of months program where they actually do some self-paced learning, as well as they have a mentoring program as well. And this changed their lives. You know, a lot of people who actually did that program are in a different place today, you know, and we actually, the APAC-TWNIC Foundation actually showcased the credibility of that program and the benefits of that program and the achievements of that program at global IGFs, at Apricot and APAC-TWNIC conferences as well. And if you have missed those, you know, please go to the website and look at the recording. You know, you hear from the people who actually got impacted and who lives changed. And these are the real good examples out there, you know, and you can also see how important it is that we collaborate, cooperate among each other. It's not a competition among ourselves, right? APAC-TWNIC is doing it, so let's not do it. No, please join us, and we together make the life better for others, you know. So I leave it there. Thank you.
Wonderful, Sunny. I want everybody to know that APAC-TWNIC has been a great support for TWNIC as well as many other NICs around Asia Pacific. But I especially want to thank Sunny because I know that he has put all his heart to all the activities and things have been going really well. And obviously I know that behind that, we have our Kala here to support us. So the next speaker I'm going to introduce to you is Crystal. I met Crystal at a security conference a few years back then. And I would start talking to her and I realized, wow, this girl has so much that she can share with us. So even though a big part of her expertise is from security, and today she's representing the Institute for National Defense and the Security Research. So I wonder that when we are talking about talent building, we're talking about capacity building, it's hard. But when you're talking about in the security research, where is the talents are coming from? How did she do that? From, you know, her hand, you know, experience from the job, or there's different things that she's doing. And because of the geopolitics shapes, I think that this becomes much, much more of an important issue that I want to leave some time for Crystal to share with you. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks, Jen, Joy, for the introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Crystal Tu from Institute for National Defense Security Research. So I briefly introduced about INSER, as where I come from. We are a think tank focusing on national security and defense research, and is fully founded by Ministry of National Defense in Taiwan, and we also collaborate with many different agencies in the public sectors. So the main mission for INSER is to engage in policy discussions and exchanges, and also we publish annual reports or policy analysis on the website to engage a discussion or explain about what's going on in the national securities. So I would call myself doing a policy of security research here, but my own background actually is in science. I come from a science as an oceanographer, so I started as a marine scientist going out at sea. And how I started engage with internet governance and all the security issues, because a friend of mine are at the beginning of Taiwan talking about internet governance, and he introduced me to here say, you have the experience in maritime policy, and marine is as open as the internet. So you should share with your experience as the scientist how to engage in policy, and you can share the kind of expertise to hear in the internet. And that's the start for me to engage in the internet governance in all these realms. And now I am working on the cybersecurity. And most of my friends, when I met in the graduate school, they don't believe, they hardly believe I actually transitioned to a full security researchers. So, so my talk will be briefly shaped by I will just briefly share with you the research I do in the last years in our annual report on Indo-Pacific regions. And also I will just briefly share some of the experience I have in the past 1 year to share in the regional stakeholders. They are mostly in the policy circles, but they are somehow associated with cybers or internet capacity buildings. So I think the terms of technical capacity building is still a huge issue here in the regions. So first, I would like to focus on the two questions in my briefly remark here. The first is how will the geopolitics shape the future for trajectory for technical capacity building in Asia Pacific from different layers of perspective. And next we'll briefly touch about what are the issues and challenges in technical capacity building from perspective in the government or policy stakeholders. So on the first, how the geopolitics shapes the futures, I think the most important things in the region that are still going on or still have the kind of impact is even though we are far apart from Europe, we are still seeing the ripples for Russia and Ukraine wars. So if we remember that in last years, what happens here is there's sanctions toward Russia, and suddenly that Cisco need to leave the Russia as soon as possible. But from my research, it shows that their Cisco product is still available and still selling in the Russian markets. You will see the online market. So that recalls jokes usually told by IT is that Cisco's biggest competitor is not Huawei, it's a Cisco refurbished product. So you see that even that in the capacity, you still, when your technology or asset is not available, you still have the people or process that will keep your internet forward and forward. And also we see that in the regions that we are several aspects of internet development are common in Asia Pacific region. The first is that we see the tech giants such as Google's or Meta's or Amazon's web service, they are driven much of the capacity building, particularly in the infrastructure building in the regions. Like most of the submarine cables we are seeing building in the regions, and like the most recent examples we see in the Pacific Islands are all from the large tech companies. So that creates an interesting situation is that traditionally that local technical company, they are playing larger roles in this bandwidth expansions. But now we are seeing that the tech giants and also the content providers are driven that kind of the capacity buildings. And second is that we'll see the first prosperous digital commerce is going on in these regions, and that creates fierce competitions in our regions. For example, we see people will mostly talk about Alibaba's or different tech sectors, and those players in the regions, they are, because of the need and they need to be more close to their consumers, they are started building their data centers or consumer in the regions. And that's caused a fierce competitions among regions. And that, because you need to have, in terms of building the kind of capacity, you need to have a place and you need to have a significant part of support. So you will see most of the technical capacity will lies in, a lot of lies in the private sectors and mostly like in the sectors that will have pressing need to address their interest in the economically. But that will also create the dark side is the security issues is like fraud, scams, that's all come from the prosperous or digital commerce that Taiwan is also suffering from. And that shows that it's more than just a security issue, it's more about transboundary crimes, and a lot of people need to collaborate with this. But in terms of facing that, we are seeing is that in this region where most of the regions they have a very limited capacities. They have only one telecoms, or they have usually some nations only have one server to respond to all their technical capacities. So those are facing the kind of issue and challenge we see from technical capacities. And from Asia Pacific, I see the policy stakeholders, they might not really aware of that kind of supporting structures or community available in the from the regional communities. Like I have one experience with exchange with one third operator from Pacific Island, and he said APAC-TWNIC actually support a lot of their capacity building. So I have one actually case I also learned a lot of APAC-TWNIC, but that's the first time I actually met someone said about the APAC-TWNIC done in their regions. However, there are others, they will be like in the policy circles. When I engage that kind of discussion, that's the first time they heard about APAC-TWNIC and their role in the regions and what the kind of roles they are doing. So I think there's a lot of things to do over here. So I think here is that when talked about the policies or talk about policy in the circles, I sometimes think that there's need more of kind of discussions is needed. But because even in the cybersecurity issues, that when talking about policies doesn't not necessarily means the policies. Because my own experience when I talk to one chief information security officer of one companies, I said I'm working on cybersecurity policy, and he instantly think about firewall policy over the organizations. So there's a difference in the discussions. And so even though that we are seeing the kind of securitization of the internet, and that also results in my sometimes lack of appearance here in the some discussion forum, because I need to focusing more on the security research issues. I think that we need to remember that that when talk about the cybersecurities, it's more important to have keep in mind that that's ruling operations. That if those infrastructures or buildings does not really have a capacity to operate their own infrastructures, that's very difficult to understand what kind of security threat or vulnerability or what the risk they are facing here. So I think they are here that APAC-TWNIC has to be here, and for Taiwan's, we have a lot of share, because a lot of things can share or learned or lesson learned in these regions, or specifically on the more on the advanced technology side, what kind of like what we are seeing the earthquake these days, how we are going to incorporate that kind of technology and capacity buildings in the form of disaster relief and help the all the regional actors that are facing a similar threat or difficulties here. I will end my remark here. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. So we never really know that where life gets us to, right? When you are studying oceanographies, you never really know that going to research and internet governance and security. So, but it's all the fun journeys that we have in our life. So the next, I'm going to turn the microphone to Sophie. Sophie has been host so many of the School of Internet for the Taiwan School of Internet, and she also has her heart on the younger generation for the TWIGF. And I think that she's seen so much topics that's been going around with the internet governance, and she also have been developing the younger generation. How do we bring them to the internet society where it's a native? But what about the governance part? Do they really know where they are going to? And what are some of the basic things that they probably should know in the early stage? So I'm going to turn my microphone to Sophie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy, for inviting me on this panel. I'm Lihsuan Liang, and I'm from NRI Enterprise Promotion Association. Hello. My organization has been hosting the first Taiwan Internet Governance Forum in 2016, and we host the first youth IGF campaign session in 2017. So it has been many years I have the chance to observe young people in Taiwan that when we participate in this kind of training. Okay, then for today, for my talk, I'm going to talk about, actually Joy sent me 3 questions for preparing my talk, and I'm going to follow her guide to present what I found. And honestly speaking English, I always feel that I'm wearing a shirt that is too small. And I believe that you may understand. And so please allow me to speak in slow and simple English. Okay, the 3 questions Joey gave me are: what's Taiwan's strength and weakness when we enter an emerging technology arena? And the second is, what's the impact on internet? And finally, how can we prepare our young generation in the internet space? I will start with the strength. Taiwan is known for our strong manufacturing capabilities, especially in electronic industry, and now for semiconductor. And this expertise can leverage to produce critical components for emerging technologies such as IoT and AI. And there is also a very well-developed high-speed internet infrastructure and a robust ICT sector in Taiwan. The infrastructure serves as a very solid foundation for the development and adoption for the emerging technologies. In addition, Taiwan has a very highly educated and skilled workforce, especially in the field of engineering, computer science, and technologies. This skilled workforce is essential for driving technologies and business innovation. Maybe you all think that I'm bragging now. Let me use some international ranking reports to show the evidence. According to the IMD World Digital Competitiveness Ranking reports last year, Taiwan ranked 9th globally in terms of digital competitiveness. And the top 3 countries are United States, Netherlands, and Singapore. And among the indicators assessing a country's ability to develop digital innovation technologies, Taiwan ranked number 3. This indicates that Taiwan established a well-functioning regulatory mechanism that favor promoting technologies, research, and commercial activities. In terms of readiness for the future, Taiwan also ranked number 7 globally. It means that we have a very nice base for digital transformation. Okay, then we'll talk about the weakness part. We can also, I will refer to the same report, but highlight the scores that, the indicators that Taiwan has lower scores. There will be 5. The bottom 5 are Taiwan ranks 52nd, the proportion of public education the 52nd in proportion of public education expenditure to GDP. And we ranked 50 in the ratio of students to teachers in higher education. And we ranked 54th in the percentage of female researcher. And we rank the 47th in the employment ratio of science and technology talents to the total employed population. And we rank 46 in the proportion of telecommunications investment compared to GDP. Among those bottom 5 ranking indicators, 4 are related to education, investment, and talent readiness. In addition, Taiwan has a very limited market size, and this limited market can pose challenges for companies who wish to scale their products or service globally. And Taiwan's economy is also highly dependent on exports. And this dependence on foreign markets, it can expose Taiwanese companies to geopolitical risks. So what's the impact for the internet development? Emerging technologies such as AI and IoT may impact the internet in various ways, such as driving significant advancement in connectivities, data processing, efficiency, security, and user experiences. However, it will also pose challenges such as privacy protection, disinformation, cybersecurity, as well as ethical and regulatory considerations, which will need to be addressed through continued innovation and collaborations across various sectors and multi-stakeholders. So how can we prepare our young generation for this new internet space? I don't have answer for that, but I have some observations. Let me simply refer the young generation to Generation Z, or we can say Gen Z in short. They are between the ages of 15 to 27. And they are the first wave of digital natives. Generally speaking, they are very, very comfortable using technologies. Usually we can find them typing on keyboard in one hand and use their phone for social media on the other. And they are used to navigate between virtual and real world. And I read a very interesting article from The Economist recently. And the article highlights that our world is now being inherited by Gen Z. For example, in the US, there has been over 6,000 Gen Z CEOs and more than 1,000 Gen Z politicians. For these young individuals, the barriers to accepting and use new technologies may not be high, but they may not need to worry about being replaced by AI. I think there are some of the people are. But the young generations, they witness traditional rules being phased out and leading to uncertainty about their future job prospects. I think perhaps providing AI skills training while they are still in school is one direction to consider. That's one of the, maybe the answer. But the other day I was chatting with a very brilliant young man. I asked him, what's your expectations for us to prepare you for the future of the internet with those AI or IoT technologies? Here I said us, it means us, like a parent, a teacher. Some of us might be policymakers, and some of us might be a business owner. I mean us. And the young man, he told me a very short but shocking answer. He said, just give us more space to try to make mistake. When I heard that, that's shocking for me. That's shocking for me. Our education system tend to overemphasize on knowledge itself rather than learning methods or process that spark students' curiosity. As knowledge becomes increasingly accessible, young people's motivation to learn should be stronger than ever. Yes, we should give them more space for them to try to make mistakes. And I believe this space offering is not responsibilities for like school principals, but also involve the whole society, actually for everyone to our tolerance for mistakes and errors. I think that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lihsuan. I think your view is important because whoever that we're dealing with, younger or older generation, will have different demands for internet, and looking forward, there's so much that we can do. So I want to turn the attention to my online remote speaker, Bikram. As I said earlier, he's from Nepal. When we're talking about Nepal, we're thinking about wonderful sightseeing. They are beautiful, like mountains, Everest region. And earlier this morning, he was sharing with me that he's doing a capacity building at Everest region. That's 4,000 meters. high, and I think that he's having fun. So I asked him to share with us what he's going to be doing. And he said that if we can allow him for 6 minutes of a video, he's going to, I don't know if we're going to play here or he's going to play, but I want you to give the attention to the 6 minutes of whatever that he's going to show, because I haven't seen it. And he's going to share a little bit about his journey at Nepal for the journey of capacity building, because as earlier some of the speakers says that, and I realized that how lucky we are here in Taipei, even with the earthquake shaking Sunny, last night and everybody else. But we are lucky because we are very luxury having all this environment, physically, mentally, and having us to be able to really push ourselves up to learn more and thinking about all these wonderful topics in the internet space. So let's hear more from Nepal. Bikram, are you ready? Are we ready to show the video? If we can, we will show the video and he's going to share a little bit before we can close the session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joy. As I said, we have been working in the remote areas, in mountain areas, and in rural areas. In Nepal, we have lots of mountains, so we have been working in the mountain almost last year. In 2022, we have started this Everest Community Network. So can you see my video here? Do you hear the voice as well?
Yes, Bikram. If you can give the full screen, we should be able to see that better. Thank you.
Do you hear the voice?
No, we don't have the voice. Would it be better if we play here? 我们可以在控制台这边播放吗？请问。
Bikram, I think they're using WebEx, so you need to enable the audio coming through the browser through us.
Okay, just
technical support, Sunny.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This 还是我们在这边播放会不会比较容易？
好，我们要问一下后面的工作人员有没有办法播放我们讲者的影片的声音呢？
Just I will share the voice as well from here. Okay, just wait. I have shared the link also, or you can share that link to. Just share the voice. Okay, now I can play the video here, the Everest.
We have Joao, Bikram, and Chapal. We just made it to Kunde, and we're going to show you the Everest Community Network, which is hosted inside the Kunde Community Club. So we're going to show you the infrastructure, the antenna, the cabling, and how people are using internet inside at this 3,880 meter altitude, and what we call the highest community network in the world. So we are at now Kunde. So we are on the site, Kunde Community Club, and our all equipments are already at site, and we are going to set up this equipment. This is our pole, locally made pole out of wood, but it's quite strong, believe me. This is our receiving antenna, which is receiving signals from our base station. And our base station, folks, is there. on top of the Everest View Hotel, using Wi-Fi technology to get a 10 Mbps connectivity into this Kunde village through the Everest Community Network. Hi folks, can you see that antenna? From that antenna we have this Cat6 cable here, and we have this Cat6 cable, and we lay out here from and then we get this cable inside this Kunde Community Club.
So here we are inside the Kunde Club, and as you can see, the cable that was outside is coming in this way, connecting to this router, which has both primary and secondary links, which are also connected to this access point. You can also see that the computers here are connected to the internet, where people can finally do the research online and whatever they want to do with the internet.
This is Mr. Paul Sherpa, and I have Pimpa Sherpa here from the Voice of Sherpa podcast from the top of the world. And we are joined with Claire Avram, a journalist from New York. Claire, would you tell something about you? It was about 8-9 months. I came across with Bikram, who is the director of Nepal Internet Foundations, and through Bikram I came to know with Nabit from Internet Society, and then we planned to set up a community network, a world highest community network in Kunda and Kumjong. And then we came here to do research, and then we have a lot of talk, and then Nabit suddenly brought this idea of setting up podcast, world highest podcast in Kunda. So yeah, this is all happened, and we are here now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that he just said, like tourists come here and ask for like, I mean, they feel that everything here is very expensive, but that's quite reasonable because like there is no means of transport here, so we have to carry everything on our backs. So like it's quite difficult to get things here. So yeah, I mean, it's quite reasonable that it's expensive. It's gonna be expensive here.
Yeah, down in the city in Kathmandu, where they have a good connections, good internet access, they do everything on internet now. So through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter, or any other social media. So they do a lot of marketing on through the social medias. But up here in Khumbu, because we don't have reliable internet, we don't do the. I don't know how many people do the marketing through internet. I don't know. But now we have good internet access, and now we can do this all easily, which we're gonna do. I mean, we're gonna set up a homestay, and we're gonna do this. So this Khumbu area is the tourism area, and Everest Base Camp. So we are in Kundai, and which is completely off track from the main Everest Base Camp trip. So I mean, we are completely isolated from the tourism destinations. The neighbor village from us make a lot of money from tourists, but we don't make any because we are isolated and we are off track. And all those lodges provide a good accommodations, good food, but all those are Westerns, influenced from Westerns. The lodges, the rooms are influenced from Western. The foods they get in lodges are influenced from Westerns, burger and pizza and chicken and things. So those are our Western things. So we want people to come in our place, in our homestay, they experience Sherpa culture, Sherpa food, Sherpa's everyday life, Sherpa's traditions. They sleep with the family, they do what Sherpa people do. So they can have in, I mean, they come here to see the mountains, but at the same time they come here to experience the culture, local culture, right? So we want money, we want income from them, but we want to also give something to them, that experience which you will never get anywhere, which you can't get in the internet. You can see mountains in the internet, but you can't get the experience in real life. So we want that experience, and to do that we need internet. I mean, marketing. I mean, we can't go to Kathmandu or Namche or any other places and ask the tourists come to Kundai. We can't do that physically. So all that marketing we can do through internet. And podcast is absolutely through the podcast we're going to tell our. I mean, there are thousands of hidden stories that we can share to the world, that we can tell to the world, and that's what this Voice of Sherpa podcast is, and we're gonna we're gonna rock it. And I mean, Nabi told me about podcasts, so I start Googling, I start watching videos on YouTube. What is this podcast? How this works? And now we are here talking podcasts, so it's really exciting. And by the way, we would like to invite you in our place, our valley, and see the beautiful mountains and lifestyle and internet, obviously. So since you're a journalist, just write brief about internet and how hard, how life is difficult here in this valley. So just spread your magic words around the world about life here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Bikram, for showing this video. Due to the time constraint, I'm gonna cut it really short, and I think I'm gonna make some final comments. I think that this is a wonderful a show for reaching out the internet with all the community. And as earlier this morning, we have this high-level panel discussion. We talk about fragmentation, we talk about interoperabilities, and I just needed to say that deep from my heart, I felt like the internet is happening. It's because all the community are doing their work, whether that's high in the mountain, low in the sea, or underground, and it's all the economies, whether that's like Sunny mentioned, some of the province, the country economy, they're working hard, as well as luxury where we are in the local host in Taiwan, that we are also contributing our effort, because internet is really for everybody, and very happy to host this session. I thank you very much for your attention, and that will conclude our session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joy.